Hey team, happy Turkey Day. Hope you all are doing well. Enjoyed time with your family, friends. Just wanted to hop on and share some thoughts over the last couple of weeks, and what's coming up at least on our end. And I'd encourage you all to share in some capacity what you're doing, challenges from the first season, how you're building upon the second season, at least from a strategy standpoint, and uh, and then what's coming at least for the spring. I'd also be interested to know how far out anybody's built out, but um, just a quick recap on our fall season: early fall, late fall, indoor and outdoor, 5 sports total. Wrapped up after 9 weeks. We're on our second full week off. Feels good just to have a little bit of downtime and recharge before we get back into it next week. Um, but I'd capture three things from first season. One just being staffing, and the associated cost. Understanding where we have efficiencies in each sport, based on at least the three tiers that I see it. One, just staffing as the position is. Two, roughing, and three, coaching in some capacity. So each of those, um, at least that's how I looked at each staffing each day, working through those three levels of positioning. Um, but we overstaffed for for each game. I was comfortable with having a floater that allowed me to fill in for a coach that didn't show up, or make sure we had adequate referees. But all that brings me back to at least the second point, our second big takeaway: training, staff training. While we did go through training, wasn't thorough enough in hindsight, and we're going into the second season with the same crew, so uh, we have training scheduled on the back end of our staff coaches meeting next week, but um, we'll rehash some really key things, especially when it comes to officiating and small things, right? Making sure that everybody's in a black and white jersey, regardless of um, of the sport, right, and regardless of the age group. Um, Making small rough cards that both the coaches and refs will carry, and they're just some basic rules around each sport, and then making the mandatory 5 minute prior to game starting coaches and ref huddle to review those rules, make sure that everybody's in agreement on how the game's going to be called. Just to make sure we have some efficiency there. Third thing would be the field setup and prep. Again, we covered it during our initial staff training, but in hindsight, it wasn't detailed enough because we ran into transition issues the first 2 weeks before we went back and recalibrated our field usage. We knew we had the additional space, but we used it for practice space, and then we wound up using it, for games, getting into week 3, which provided us a lot more efficiency going forward. And there are a couple other small things, just equipment usage and accountability. I think we did a fairly good job, but nobody cares for your stuff quite like you do, right? Because you spend your money on it. So that part of this job has to be at the forefront of everybody. your entire staff's mind when they're when they're using the equipment and putting it up. So those are the things, at least, that we're carrying forward, and things that we'll key on coming up for the second season. I'd mentioned before to a lot of folks, but I hired an assistant program director up front, and starting here in our second season, I do not plan on carrying the water right at the site here in Columbus. I plan on attending the games because my kids are playing, but by and large, he will run the show from an operational standpoint. So that'll give me some runway to work on administrative and back end stuff, and then the expansion stuff. So but what's coming up? So we start our winter session here 6 and 7 December with indoor soccer 3v3 format, indoor basketball 3v3 format, and then we've got a multi-sport discovery program that starts the next day on Sunday, and then we've got volleyball training also. And a couple programs start right in January after the new year. After school program, basketball training session, flag football, both girls and boys, and then we've got a volleyball league that's starting in January that'll bleed into early March, and then we've got our first athlete development program that starts mid-March and will bleed into first week of mid-February, bleeding into the first week of March. So busy, but I think it's given us a good look at different programming, so we will better understand what the market wants, I think, as we go into spring. And even though the spring schedule is built out, it's far enough out that we were able to replicate a lot of the programs here in the winter, and then we'll be able to make some adjustments to those as we get closer. The other big thing here is that we are going to our second venue in Auburn. So right now, I am applying to be a vendor, which will reduce my facility usage cost with Auburn, or reduce one of the costs. Facility use costs by the hour still there, but there's some other administrative costs that will be reduced if I become a vendor. But this is just one of those challenges where you need to grow. Your options may not be plentiful, so you've got to really look at the programming, the timing, and then do what's best for your organization, right? So I say all that to sort of paint the picture or frame, right, what we're doing in Auburn at the second location and why. And we're doing the multi-sport program. And instead of a 6-week program or a 5-week program like we're doing here in December, I'm only running a 4-week program. One, again, cost. 2, we start to peel back the different programs, the value of the program, and then the cost per kid, right? So I think in the league play, it's somewhere around $20, $21 per kid when you start, when you add up jerseys and staffing, and then when you look at training programs or the multi-sport program that doesn't have a jersey requirement but a t-shirt requirement, you've got about a $10 to $12 cost, that's less, right? In this case. So the multi-sport program, what I've seen is, high value because you're offering parents multiple options under one umbrella and you've got a lower per kit cost. So from a value standpoint, uh, that particular program made sense to go into a second venue when I have cost concerns or constraints with the facility usage, so I get the most bang for my buck, if that makes sense. Um, but it's also made me realize, the uniqueness of that particular program, and making it, at least in my estimation, sort of a staple program that we want to run. Again, and I'll just give you some numbers here. So, league play, 6 weeks, again, cost per kid somewhere north of 20 some odd bucks. And then for the multi-sport program, we're only running that program for 5 weeks. And the cost per kid, as I mentioned, is about 10 to 12 bucks less than league play. So when you put that together, you've got tremendous cost savings, with a multi-sport program than you do traditional league play. So, you've got to find a way to fit it in. But I think, at least programmatically, they should run, parallel, because as I mentioned, some parents just don't want it, right? They want what they want, so they'll sign up for flag football, either soccer or basketball. So it's probably important that those programs do run parallel, or one bleeds into the other, right? Um, so so that was the thought process, at least, for the second territory. It's just it has to be cost efficient, and then um, what I think every program in every market, or every AD will eventually get will be sort of a flagship program, right? What program drives that market, that territory? Um, so um, yeah, so looking out, Springs built out, at least for the Columbus site, and then going into Auburn. I have yet to put anything on the calendar for the summer. I'm not sold yet on a camp, um, but I think, and I'd be happy to get some feedback on this, is opening up a multi-sport program for a 7 to 9 age group, with basketball, soccer, and flag football, and try to encourage teams to sign up, where we'd run each sport condensed in one day, right? So you've got the same team that's competing in basketball, they're competing in soccer, and they're competing in flag football, all on the same day. So it runs maybe for about 4 weeks, or 5 weeks, and set up a playoff or tournament format on the back end. Still toying with the structure of it, and where it might fit or bleed into something else. But I'm highly interested in that type of program or programming, because when we look at the market just in totality, right? There are no programs that exist like that. So I think where you can offer unique programs, you can potentially, capture the market, and then add tremendous value. Again, I'll caveat that, and just, I think everybody's well aware that, the market will eventually tell you what's working, what's not, and, what parents want. So we may build that and very well, get nobody to sign up, right? They're just like what are we doing here? Um, but yeah, so those are the big things. So other major developments over the past 2 months or so. I've joined the owners association. Attended the first meeting, or at least my first meeting, a couple weeks ago, and um, Evan mentioned it before, but good insights to the back end, as I'll frame it, of sort of what's going on and why, right? But it's good to be part of those discussions, and then internally, their committees with marketing, with technology, and maybe one or two areas that I'm missing, but those are folks that are helping shape, right, all the issues that pop up on Facebook or through email directly. Um, that we're having, and these things are being discussed and they're being formalized, triaged, and then taken to I think through the facts, and then and in some cases I think just working directly with the home office. So a lot of the updates and stuff that we see, um, when you think about how the sausage is made, uh, that that becomes a big part of that process, right? Facebook complaint or email, I-9 committee takes that up, has formalizes it, takes it over to home office, and it gets on the list somewhere. And big enough priorities do then make it, right, and we see that come out in the form of updates. So I'd encourage, if you're on the fence, I think they were offering, and I don't know if the deal's still good, but we're getting like a free photo stand or something like that, which is like $400, and then the membership for the year was like $600. So I mean, in theory, you only pay like $200, right? So I would certainly say it's worth it. You get a year to hang out, ear hustle, understand what's going on, and then determine if it's worth another year for you. But last thing, I think, going into season 2, looking forward to it. Looking at the I don't want to say staff challenges, but repositioning the staff in terms of training, allocation for a little bit better efficiency. And I think just to sort of put a bow on, the word efficiency and across the different programs, I'm really interested in this, the cost per kid per program, to really understand what those numbers are, and then let that plus parent feedback drive future programming and where we eventually land. But I think part of this process is probably a year, if not longer, into what we're doing, right? And the dropping leagues and running those are staples in what we'll do. But I think programmatically, there's a lot more efficiency, right? Like the after school program, right? It's reoccurring payments, and again, cost per kid. We're only providing a T-shirt with that program, and you get a kid in August, they get a T-shirt, they pay $60 a month or so until May, and you do the math on that. you know, that is that's pretty significant, um, you know, profit margins on that. So um, I'll continue to work that and get a better understanding of it and see, at least from a program standpoint, what that looks like, and hopefully, build something out and be able to share it. And really maybe just add it to that the performa that we were given, which I think is a good tool. But if we can get a little bit more in depth on it, I think it would be helpful to really no cost per kid and by program, and maybe that even trickles down to the season as well, because I know my prices for the fall were higher than they are for the winter, and they're those are back up for the spring. Um, so some of that, maybe some of that's unnecessary, but at least for this market, I think when I looked at my average cost in the fall, it drove me to better understand where we were giving discounts, the number of free seasons, and then paint that picture for the winter, to come up with pricing that would allow us to not discount as many um, parts of leading up to a season, and just offer a price that that was comfortable in the market. So I know it's a long video, but if you get to the end, appreciate it. If not, hopefully it was some part of it was good. But have a good night. I hope you enjoyed time with your team and your family. Thanks.